Ani Bojo, Indigenous Waabishkizi Miigwan Kwe, Opichi Menominee, Ngindodum, Nigigindodum, Wissaxing First Nations, Toronto, Turtle Island, Indigenaba. I always introduce myself in Anishinaabemowin. My great-grandmother was, or is, a language carrier, and she had passed on. And when I was younger, I had no idea how important the Anishinaabe language is and was. And knowing that I come from a long line of intergenerational trauma as being a survivor of residential schools, day schools, 60 scoops within my family of both my mother and my father's side, it's very, very important to me to learn how to even introduce myself and open up my spirit and our spirits in a good way, just like that smudge and that smoke that rises, that eagle feather, that's all medicine. And it's really important that when we have Indigenous folks come in to do speaks, we provide that tobacco that we see in the yellow area there, provide that tobacco as a gift, knowledge that's being carried. And it's an honor to be in this circle today because our voices matter. And the fact that I've lost my voice for years, it's an honor to be able to speak that and share my culture that I never grew up with. And so in this introduction, I said my name is White Feathered Woman. And that's a story. There's 13 eagle feathers, 12 eagle feathers on an eagle tail. This is the wing. But on the eagle tail, there's 13 and it's triangle. And in the middle feather, that middle feather represents balance. Balance between spirit world, balance between human form. And growing up, I didn't understand that. And now being at the age of 38 years old, I'm finally really starting to understand Waabishkizi Miigwan Kwe, White Feathered Woman, and that balance. Even when we look in that medicine wheel, in the middle, there's all different colors there. In the middle, this all represents the world, and in that middle represents balance. And we're supposed to be creating that balance from one another through cultures, through different creation stories all around the world. And we don't really see that because it's all divided. And so within my name, I have to understand that balance. So I teach that balance through being an otter clan. I also say that I'm Otter Clan. And I also represent the Loon clan because the grandmother Loon adopted me when I was very young. And so when I open up the spaces like that, it's very, very much an honor to my spirit, myself, whoever's sitting here, and the ones who passed on long before.
Mm. Uh-huh. Can you discuss a bit of the significance of the clan with us?
Yes. So I guess in order for me to talk about the clan, I also have to give a bit of detail on who gifted me my spirit name. Mm-hmm. My great-great-grandmother, Rosie Rice, is a spirit. She gives out spirit names. She has that gift. And she ended up giving me the name White Feathered Girl as a baby. But of course, along the ways, that was like back in 1985. Of course, along the ways, the family had lost that paper that had that name on it. And when I got sent away at the age of 15 because I was a runaway, I was involved in the justice system here in Toronto. I was in and out of the jail systems. And a lot of my friends and family didn't think that I was actually going to make it. They thought that I was going to die at a young age, which I haven't. And they thought I was going to end up in jail, which I was lucky enough to keep on getting out of. But my daughter is the one who saved me at the age of 19 when I got pregnant. And that goes back to me understanding who I was. And my great-grandmother, Rosie, when she gave me that name at birth, I didn't know who that was, nor did I know who she was at the age of 15 years old when I got sent away to a treatment center. My Uncle Dave and my mom sent me to this treatment center all the way in Fort Francis, and we went to a shaking tent. Mm. And a shaking tent is beautiful. I'm allowed to share this story. A lot of nations, a lot of people may not share their stories, but I was given instructions within that shake tent, and the instruction was pretty much saying that I need to share that story. So when I went to this little tent, we did the medicine man tobacco, more tobacco, a bigger bundle of tobacco. And I asked for my spirit name, my colors, and my clan. And I went into this little, so tiny, and we were way more closer than what we are right now. And it's dark. And in this dark space, you hear the medicine man speaking to the spirits, the ancestors of my ancestors, my spirit name, Waabishkizi Miigwan Kwe, my grandmas, my grandfathers. So he's questioning them in the language. And all you feel is there's like it's like a teepee light, and there's cedar all around it. And you could feel it shaking back and forth. Like the tree's almost whacking me in my face. And I'm sitting there like, oh, what is that? I'm super scared, because you're 15. You don't want to believe in that, like the spiritual realm, because that's blocked off from school. That's blocked off from institutions. That's blocked off through living the colonial life. They don't allow you to express your gifts. Meanwhile, we're born with these gifts. Our ancestors see these gifts way before. So I was blessed to have Waabishkizi Miigwan Kwe, white feathered woman, as my name. And because I was 15 and I was already a woman at that time, meaning I had already gone through my menstrual cycle, my first one, and that's called the moon time. So it wasn't white feathered girl, it was white feathered woman. Then I got 3 colors, yellow, white, and purple. And then I was given the Loon clan, not the Otter clan. And the reason why I was given the Loon clan at that time is because I had no connection to my biological father. And we at Ojibwe, I'm Ojibwe and Potawatomi, but my Ojibwe side, on my father's side, we take after our father's clan. So my mother is a wolf. She thought she was a bear. And my father is an otter. And I never knew how close I was to that otter connection because I didn't understand these teachings or the gifts that I carried. And when I received that loon clan, the loon clan is representing of community externally. And so it sits with another clan, the Crane clan, that deals with community externally. So they come together and they actually work together to build on community. They're the ones that are making those decisions within a community. That's how we got by a long time ago, is by utilizing the clan grandmothers, the matriarchs, bringing that woman matriarchs back, power. When I was in my 30s, I ended up receiving the Otter clan, and that's my biological father. And when we received that name, I was really upset. Or not the name, sorry, the clan. I was really upset. I was like, oh my gosh, how could they do this to me? I was Loon clan for so long. I was taking care of all the youth in community. I was like that community leader. And all of a sudden I'm this Otter clan, and otters, I didn't understand their gifts, but otters are playful. They're educational. They love to argue. They love to argue, and they talk about unity. They talk about the educational purposes and so much more. There was so much gifts the otter gave to this world and to creation. And so I had to find the balance through understanding to embrace the Loon clan and embrace the Otter clan, because that's both me. That was a big part of my life. So I had a dream about me, and this is when I knew that I had to embrace both. The dream was me flying in another dimension. I love my dream world. It's beautiful. It's bright. It's not as gray as we have it here in this form. It's so gray and dull. But this form of world is different. It's bright. The animals are bright. The greenery, the trees is all bright and beautiful, healthy. You could see the waters, they're crystal clear blue waters, like beautiful. You could see the animals, the sea creatures in the water. And so when I go into this next realm in my dream world, I'm actually flying on the loon's back, the grandmother's loon's back, going into that next realm. And then as soon as I go in the next realm, I dive all the way down to the water and I twist myself, pull myself up, and that's me turning into that otter. Those otters turn and embrace and go up. And I'm looking around like, oh my gosh. And it's just so magical, and that's the significance of both the loon, the otter, as well as white feathered woman. So I had to create that balance. And I've been walking on a limp my whole life, off balance. Like literally, like one side is not balanced, the other side's not balanced. How do you balance that out? Well, you embrace that gift that you have, our gifts that we have. You share that. You stop letting your voice be closed for other people. You open that and let your pipes go and just speak that truth within us. And that's also what the white means within that eagle feather, speaking that truth.
And I want to thank you first, Robin. A big part of what we're doing with the La Raza BIPOC Access podcast is building immigrant Indigenous friendship. And the Indigenous guests we've had, which is my elder Sylvia, Mohawk Nation, and then yourself, there's just this piece that we start the podcast with through the teachings that you so graciously shared with us. So I just wanted to just take a moment to thank you, from the bottom of my heart, our hearts, for just sharing this wisdom with us. And it's an honor to have you also because of the artistry, that we've had. It's very special to me. I mean, I met you with the spoken word and I saw you with the dancing, with the traditional dancing, which we'll get into. And I've told you this before, but I want to tell you this on air. At the start of the genocide in Palestine, you were in a protest in a video that went viral where you all were doing your traditional dancing. And in that viral video, they also showed Palestinians doing their traditional dancing. And the similarities were so striking. And up until that point, I had been going to sleep crying for all the pain and suffering I was seeing inflicted on Palestinian people. And the night I saw your video that you're in, that you're dancing, was the first time I was able to cry tears of joy. And you know, and this is where I have the kafia on. And I just want to thank you for that as well. Sorry to interrupt, Mark. It's just, this is a very special, emotional interview for me. So thank you. And so this is La Raza BIPOC Access.
Bam, bam.
Yes.
I forgot the structure. I was just so moved. But yes, I'm Spinel Poeta, one of your co-hosts for the La Raza BIPOC Access. And over here,
Mark, aka Creative Logic. And as you know, as she introduced herself, and you can again for us,
Robin Rice, also known as Waabishkizi Miigwan Kwe.
Waabishkizi Miigwan Kwe.
Great intro, by the way.
Yeah, that was powerful.
And I wanted to continue on what you were talking about in terms of the colors. Elaborate a bit, if you can, on kind of the stages of your life that they represented and some of the stories behind them.
Okay, so when I was 15 and when I received yellow, white, and purple, I really didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand the colors. And we're only supposed, well, what I was told is that we only receive 4 colors. And that was my 3rd color. And in that shake tent, the medicine man actually told me, he said, the spirits told you, your ancestor spirits told you that you're not ready for your 4th color yet. And again, I was like disappointed because you're like, you want it then and now, no patience. And I lack patience. That's another one. I lack patience, right? Teachings within teachings. All that patience. But anyways, I didn't understand what those colors meant up until, and I still kind of don't know what those colors meant, but I do remember what my elders tell me. And they always told me in my dreams as a little girl, because I came from a life that was very difficult. My parents my mother did the best that she could with the tools that were given to her. And the fact that my family comes from that intergenerational trauma of residential day scoop and 60 scoop and all the other traumas that are out there and filled within Indigenous peoples at the time, with the shame and the guilt and not wanting to actually be Indigenous and not being proud. That came with a lot of hurt on my end because I was the only child. And so one of my elders had told me about a dream that I had had as a little girl. And he said that when you were a little girl, you used to dream about you being this little flower. You would die out and then you'd rebirth. Die out and you'd rebirth, die out and you'd rebirth. And the color of that flower was actually purple. The white, I'm not sure where they get it from, but white is purity. White is that purity color. And purple also represents that healing. And the yellow, for me, I'm still not sure where the yellow comes from. But I feel like that was a part of the flowers and that I was spoken about. So I ended up getting those and started rebirthing myself and understanding how to deal with that. But then when I became 30 years old, I ended up going to see elders, going back in my community because I left my Indigenous community at the age of 14, 15 years old. After when I went to that treatment center, I ended up not looking back in our culture because that's when I started carrying that shame and guilt because the police always tried to ban me from the Native Canadian Center. So I was still rebirthing myself as that flower to be bright and beautiful. And my heart was pure at that time. But because I grew up on the street life of things, I lost that purity. So I lost the reasonings behind what those colors actually meant. But then when I went to go do that healing 7 years ago, I'm on my 7th year of that journey, which is big lucky number 7.
We're going to talk about that in a second.
Yep. Lucky number 7. And so now that I'm on that 7th year, when I was in my 30s, I ended up getting the color light blue, like a sky blue. And that was all about forgiving self, forgiving people. And it was the most hardest stage of my life. It was hard. Because then you hear people saying you have to forgive your abusers, you have to forgive the people that put you through all the shit. And you're like, what? No, my abusers do not get to hear me having to apologize for what they did to me, you know? And I had to start understanding, how do I forgive? How do I forgive? And my forgiveness was pretty much going to ceremony and be like, okay, well, here's my tobacco. Robin, I forgive you for all the shit I put you through. Robin, you know what? You're amazing. I forgive everything that happened. No, it didn't work like that. It did not work like that. I had to forgive myself for each of the traumas that happened from when I was a little girl up until that age. And it was hard. It was hard.
So I have a color every year, and I've decided light blue is my color this year. And in the Mayan teachings of the land where I'm from, my birthright is forgiveness. And I struggle with that. And just hearing you say that, it's I feel it. You had touched on the number 7, and so I had the honor of working with you on a grant for the Canada Council. And I just randomly said 7, and it all connected with the 7 grandfather teachings, and we're creating that. We put the grant in successfully. And through that experience, I got a deeper understanding of the connection you have with your daughter. You have a very powerful, intelligent daughter of mixed heritage, Arawak, Jamaican, and Anishinaabe on your side. And I also felt so privileged to have been in the conversation in the car with you and your daughter. It was a very emotional moment where I'm seeing the depth of empathy that she has. And I know that that is a significant part of your artistic path moving forward, is that connection with mother and daughter. And I wanted to know if you wanted to share a bit about that with us and why it's so integral as part of your healing journey.
Me and her dad haven't always been the best. I left that marriage. And he took our daughter to Jamaica after he got deported. And we lost that bond, that mother-daughter bond, because after that, I had to stop breastfeeding. I had to watch my daughter go down that airport and not know when she's coming back. And so my daughter's seen so much toxic behaviors, not just from me as a woman, as an unhealthy woman, but her father, lineage, her family line. Like, there was just toxic stuff all around, toxic people all around. I grew up with males. I grew up with guys who were trying to groom me, but really they didn't know how observant I was and how I was watching them, how I was getting all these ideas, how I was going to make sure that I won't let any man take that control away from me. Even though I did, I allowed people to take that control over me because I wasn't sure about myself and didn't have that trust in myself. And so about 7 years ago, when I came on my path of going back to the Indigenous teachings, we had a raid and the cops came and raided our apartment. And it had nothing to do with us. We were living in an Indigenous building. We were living in Jane and Weston. The cops apparently said we all look alike, right? The cops apparently said that they know that I have guns and they know that I have drugs in my apartment, apparently. I asked them if they looked, check it out. But what really bothered me is the fact that I was living in that area, they came in and had their guns to my daughter, and I jumped on her like a mama bear because I didn't know if they were police or not. I grew up in a different lifestyle. The police weren't the one coming in that door. It was break-ins by individuals. That's the lifestyle I grew up in. I wasn't in it fully. I seen it, and yeah. And because of that situation, and I ended up not only not having that connection with my daughter, she was going back and forth from me and her dad at the time because we were so bitter towards each other. We were always arguing, and he thought he had more power over me because he took care of her for all those years in Jamaica. So when I got into that raid and when I realized that I lost my whole connection to my daughter because I went on PTSD mode, I ended up being diagnosed with PTSD, agoraphobia, depression and anxiety. And they were all severe, like severe to the max. I ended up taking myself to Anishinaabe Health. I ended up taking myself to see a therapist because not once did I ever want to see my daughter go through the ish that I have been through. And having those police officers put that gun towards my daughter like that with no remorse in his eyes, knowing that it was just 2 females in that house at that time, and there was 10 males and 1 female police officer, was a disrespect to my whole self as a woman, was a disrespect to my daughter. I realized in that moment that I need help. I need help because when I seen that and the times when I've had guns pointed at my head from males, I was like, I will not stand for that. That's not going to happen. This is going to stop right now. And I wanted to make sure I started breaking those barriers so I never have to deal with it again. Not saying I never didn't deal with it, but it came across differently. We had the tools, we had the support, we had the people. I was becoming to be healthier. However, I wasn't happy because when you're dealing with all those traumas that you've kept inside for so long, and you want to show your daughter that you could be a woman who is just everything. Like, I wanted to be that woman to show her that no matter what we go through, we could still rise on top. We could still make it, you know? And it's just powerful, that bond. And now me and her are doing that healing work together. And I'm honored to have been in that car because even when my daughter told us, she's like, Mom, I really want you to come back to Jamaica because I've never been to Jamaica. And it's weird how she's been there. I couldn't afford it. My passport didn't come. There was so much barriers to block me off from going up there, and still are. And so when I ended up being in that car and we're talking about our ideas and we're talking about going to Jamaica, she said, you know, Mom, it would be really nice to have a piece. If you come to Jamaica and take back that piece that you missed of me from the Jamaican earths. I was like,
I was crying.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not even in this family.
Right? You are family.
We are now.
We are. And that's when I realized I had to take my power back and change my whole life and gain back these teachings and understand what these mean, understand what Waabishkizi means, understand what the loon means, understand what the otter means. I have to take that back. And I had to put it in my daughter's lifestyle as well as mine, but also represent her lifestyle coming from Jamaica, you know, putting that together and making sure that she knows how powerful she is so that nobody makes her as low as I felt.
And I appreciate what you just shared there with us. It came to mind to me, we were talking about forgiveness earlier and what forgiveness had meant to you at the time. It was almost like you having to apologize to someone else. I was curious if after time had gone by and even like different experiences of your daughter, et cetera, has the meaning and what forgiveness has changed for you?
Oh, yeah. It's actually changed me quite a lot because when you're not forgiving people, you're carrying that bitterness in your heart and you're angry within yourself and you're not trusting yourself. And as much as all those people abused me and put me into my bringing my power gone, taking my power away, I had to learn how to forgive the fact that I was putting myself through that all the time, that trauma, saying, I'm no good. I don't deserve to be here. I'm not a good person. I don't deserve to have a family. I don't deserve to have a relationship. And all those abuses made me the way that I was. I was very misogynistic myself. I didn't understand how to be a woman or understand the powers of women and my womanhood. And that forgiveness piece is different now because I look at things with a kind heart. I look at things with understanding. I put myself in other people's shoes. To understand why they're doing that harm towards me. Why are they doing that harm towards other people? Do I do it back? Because that was a game that I played with a lot of my exes. We were on revenge mode for life. Right? It was revenge. It was, I'm going to do that back to you, but twice as worse. Let's play this game. But that forgiveness piece made me kind. It made me humble. It made me not want to fight people. It made me not so angry and jealous and shame and guilt and all those ugly feelings that we have towards ourselves and others. So that forgiveness piece, I was also taught that forgiveness piece through a strawberry. Our strawberry represents love and it represents forgiveness. And I had to learn through that strawberry, the forgiveness piece. And that strawberry, like one of our aunties in community, our grandmas in community, Meekis, she talks about that forgiveness within that berry. And that berry is given to us to eat. And within those berries, they hold teachings. Those seeds are the strawberries' babies, and it's allowing us as humans to feed off of those berries and those seeds and get that nutrients. And that's a teaching of that forgiveness as well. So I had to learn, for me to walk this good life, this good path, the Mino Binadawism, and I'll always say it wrong, sorry everybody, but that good life, I had to learn how to walk with humility, with grace, with kindness. And that goes with our 7 grandfather teachings: love, respect, humility, wisdom, truth, courage, respect. And all of those teachings also come with animals. And I had to learn about those animals and learn about the medicine wheel. Mm-hmm. And that all helped me bring that balance with learning how to forgive others as well as forgiving myself. And forgiving myself has been one of the hardest ones because I'm still forgiving. That's going to be ongoing. I've hurt people a lot along my journey of life that I need to forgive. If I don't see those people, I have to learn how to forgive them without ever seeing them, and vice versa. I'm still waiting for apologies that I deserve from other people that put me through the utmost shit in my life. However, if I don't get those apologies, am I going to hurt myself, continuously hurt myself, or am I going to have to forgive it from a distance? 100%. And I'm not saying go and forgive your abusers, because some people put me through stuff where I'll never forgive, but I'll forgive myself for continuously putting myself in that same cycle and not understanding my worth as a woman, as an individual.
And I appreciate you sharing that and kind of sharing how that emotion, that process, it kind of evolved for you through your experiences, and you allowed yourself to grow and not kind of stay stuck in one understanding of it. And I wanted you to also, if you can, touch a bit on how that thought process, that evolution has played a role in your artistic endeavors, and also just talk a bit about how it reflects your cultural identity and your heritage.
So it reflects because I'm actually a jingle dress dancer, and jingle dress dancer is a dance of healing. It's a dance of healing, and it's a dance that I go out and dance for community, dance for people all over the world. That dance, those jingles are the ones that help me continue my path. That's my healing. That's my bundle. That's my gift. And that jingle dress dance, even just dancing for people, even helps create that space where I feel comfortable and feel empowered. But I also feel as if I could go out and help community with that jingle dress, with their grief, their pain, their sorrows. So what I say and what we hear from community is all of that stuff that I've been through, all of those teachings that I got and those lessons that I got are in my bundle of knowledge forever. And that's what ends up helping me help community is through my personal experiences and through my art. So I used to talk a lot about the negatives within the art. And then I changed it to the positive, those empowering woman, like just not woman stuff, just empowering. Don't get me wrong. I have days where I'll sit there crying my eyes out in pain, in so much pain. And I'll go in my phone and I'll just write a poem. And I'll have one eye open, like, and I'm sitting there bawling, oh my gosh. But I got to get this out. It's amazing. I can't let it. So I have to release through talking. I have to release through storytelling. I'm a storyteller.
Mhm.
You could tell. I'm a storyteller through my bundle, through my gifts. So therefore, that helps me move forward. That helps me create a path for others to join in with me to walk that good life. I'm only there to give those beginning teachings for people. If they want to stay, they stay. If they go somewhere else, then that's their place to go. We always keep it moving, but we always have those teachers along the way that help them or help myself. So I was honored to get those teachings passed down from me through my elders, knowledge carriers, through my ancestors, through my own spirit, through myself, and through those shitty emotions that I felt for so long.
100%.
You know, I never knew what a happy emotion was. When I was pregnant, I knew what a happy emotion was because I was carrying life. But that got ripped out once my daughter got to Jamaica. That was gone. I was unhappy again. Even I have to learn how to forgive myself for having to be so unhappy with myself for so long. And so those help me be able to help other people. But it also, again, helps me walk that good life. And so I'm really honored to have been through the life that I have. I don't want to change nothing at all. Besides getting rich, that's what I would change. However,
Well, let's talk a bit about that as well. Like, what type of ways are you looking to monetize your art?
oh my gosh, right now I'm on, I guess what you would say, selfish mode. I've worked so hard in community. I've done so much work for other people in community. I've worked. And now I'm at the point where I need to be selfish and bring out my art, my entertaining gifts, my voice, my creative side, because my creative side through that pain and trauma has led me to beautiful, bright colors, beautiful, bright words. And it has shown me how to actually push forward in the gifts that I have through my spirit name, through those colors, through my clans, and through all the bundle that I carry. And so honestly, it's just a gift and an honor to be given such knowledge through my culture and through just honoring who I am and not hiding who I am no more. So my art makes me be who I originally was meant to be, who I am supposed to be. And I'm tired of all the blockages that people have been throwing at me. Because I lead with such a kind heart now. And this is what I always joke about. Like, I need to bring back that bitch Robin again, because clearly people ain't understanding.
They got her all fucked up. Now, I know as far as the specific streams, so Robin's a dope spoken word artist, so that's a stream of income. Amazing dancer, you know, and like I said, moved on that viral video. Workshop facilitator, right? And then also curriculum development. You've had some curriculums that you've developed. So there's a lot of viable streams of income that Robin has. And I know she's confided in me around having the intellectual property taken or being going to organizations, and she's defining the curriculum. You know, the kids get the pizza bus tickets, she gets out, and now they're running on her intellectual property. So that's kind of on the business side of all of this. Some of the things that we had discussed and interest, and would love to get your insight on how to monetize and then also how to protect that intellectual property so people aren't running buck wild with her work.
Yeah. For that, the part that you're going to kind of want to focus in on is seeing what's available to be either trademarked, patented, and then if you actually your artistic works, copyrighted. But with curriculums, for example, a lot of the times it's not your own original intellectual property idea. It's almost like a curation of various teachings that have been there before. There, it's a bit more difficult. From a business standpoint, you can recognize the value that that curriculum is going to bring to a school and then negotiate that up front as your fee to be able to deliver that work product to them. And sometimes that may come down to you having a few of those products beforehand so that you almost have a case study or you have proof of concept for what you want to sell to somebody and show them why there's value in choosing you over the other person. But I think that's you have a lot of talents. You have the ability to create. And I think a key thing, especially with you, is the fact that you've been doing so much work in the community for that period of time. And that work is around storytelling. It's around the same subjects that you talk about within your poetry, even some of the same topics that you cover within your dancing in terms of healing. So I think that that audience connects to the stuff that you're doing in terms of creative. And it may just be a matter of kind of like organizing and documenting and having that audience there from the different events that you're doing, having lists, being able to remarket to them, and then being able to show them the different products that you have coming out. Because a lot of it is around the same subject matter. I think that they would be interested in it. And especially if it's around trauma, healing, discovering yourself, and spirituality.
And what would you suggest as far as set fees, right? Because this is, on one end, there's me going in and facilitating a workshop on Marshawn Lynch. And another is like one of the original caretakers of this land that we're uninvited guests on, facilitating a workshop on Indigenous teachings, which is sacred. How would you suggest she goes around pricing that so she's not being underpaid?
I would look at, in everything, to be honest, there's always competition. So the same way that you're going to be speaking on that, you probably know other people from your cultures, other clans, et cetera, who are doing something similar. So at that point, really what that person who's buying that may be looking for is that specific thing. And now it's about comparing yourself to your competition. What are they charging for it? As we have spoken in another one of the BIPOC Access interviews, setting an hourly rate for yourself so that you know that you're going to be working XYZ number of hours and base that on the value that you're providing to the people that you're doing this work for. If you're creating a curriculum and then after the fact you create this curriculum, they're now charging students $10,000 a year to learn from this curriculum, and you know they have at least 100 students per year coming in to take that course, well, they're generating $1 million from your curriculum. So how much of that do you want to be able to create that curriculum, but at the same time being mindful that you're not the only person on earth that can create a curriculum. So if you try to overprice yourself, then there's somebody else who is going to go and get that opportunity.
And that brings me, like, we had a workshop in Jane and Finch and Driftwood where the youth were going to be selling their artwork at head office, at housing. And we had a pricing exercise the day before. And one girl said $1,000. And I looked at her, it was beautiful artwork. And I said, you know, that higher you go, that may mean that you might not get it sold. And this sister looked me dead in the eyes and she said, if they're not willing to pay that much, I'm not willing to part with my painting.
Correct.
And I think that's where we got to be at with you, Robin. I don't know if it's happened to you, but it's happened to me where I get called for a quote and I'm tripping because I don't want to lose it. And I'm like, 600. Okay, no problem. And I'm like, fuck, I should have said like 1,000 or 1,500, but like I just didn't want to lose the gig. And I underpriced myself and they were like drooling and they're not going to offer to pay me more.
Yeah.
So I think, do you have any tips? Has that happened to you, Robin?
Yeah, so I have a story to quickly tell because so as a missing murdered Indigenous woman survivor and activist, and it's something that I storytell and I talk about and I'm passionate about because I could have been one of those women who never would have been here. But my voice is here, my voice matters. I am here to speak that truth and to share those stories that I've been through. And not just the traumas, but the healing beside it. So I I still get asked to go speak to talk about missing murdered Indigenous women. I went to this one session and I have an amazing mentor, Suzanne Smoke. She's helped me along my journey. And Suzanne Smoke actually sat there and said, how much are you paying that white guy that has his certificate? You're going to have that white guy with a degree and you're going to give her less because he has a degree and she doesn't, but she's using her life experience. they told her how much he was getting. She was like, well, you're giving her the same amount.
Exactly.
Bottom line, because you know what? Just because he has that white paper doesn't make her knowledge any less. Hers, she has that street knowledge, it is that street knowledge. But that's why I'm also at University of Toronto, is because I'm fighting that system of having to have white papers to show that we have that knowledge. And I'm decolonizing that system because I'm tired of seeing our peoples, not just Indigenous peoples, the peoples that are creative, the peoples that are sitting there and don't do all that research. We could do a research through a video if we wanted to. You know, we don't need to sit there and write a whole 10-page paper about a subject that we could do it in different creative ways. Exactly. And University of Toronto, we know, is like that. And so I stand in that school loud and very proud. And I do make myself known. And I do make myself known that I will not create these white papers through how you want me to do it. I'm going to utilize it in my own way so that I could get that proper paying job and get paid the same way others get paid with that. So instead of just that book knowledge, I'll have both the book knowledge and the street knowledge. And I'm tired of those white papers. Everyone says, we need this certificate, you need that. No, you don't. We don't need that. That's just what that colonial system wants us to have to prove that we have status of book smarts.
And you survived what's in that white paper. You survived it. You should be paid more. My bad, brother.
Yeah.
Problem at all. I appreciate you sharing that with us. And honestly, the amount of vulnerability you've expressed in this interview, talking about the things that have happened to you and also bringing strength to others to recognize that, like, you aren't always a product of your environment. And if you want to be, you can continue to make the choice to be that thing, but you always have the ability to change. And it's an amazing thing you've done for your daughter as well, just to show another generation that they don't have to always go through the same cycles and they don't have to experience the same pain that people before them have experienced. So I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate you bringing everything with us, grounding us, removing the negative energy before this podcast. And this has honestly been an incredible time. And I just want to say thank you for being on the podcast with us today. And we're definitely going to have to connect with you more and bring more information to the community and to these audiences, because they need to understand more about the Indigenous culture, the Indigenous community, and understanding where you have come to visit and what it was, what the foundation is, and what it has always been before that.
I do got one last question I have to ask, if that's okay. Camera.
You go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I have to ask, Robin, because, and I said this earlier on, Turtle Island and Palestine. I've seen you and we had very deep conversations about that. What does that solidarity mean to you? I mean, we're going to be performing in a few days at a Palestinian fundraiser. Why is that so important to you as an Indigenous woman to support Palestinian people?
Because we know the genocide acts that are built within the white supremacy system, that colonial system that was brought here, not just to Turtle Island, throughout the world. We watch our brothers and sisters face that genocide. And that's the same genocide we've dealt with our whole life, especially knowing that those babies came out not too long ago to show the whole world that you need to start believing in the Indigenous folks, in their voices. And that's why I believe those spirits came about. So because we understand the acts of genocide, the acts of oppression, and the lies that are built on this world. They're built on all bodies that didn't deserve. And so I can't ever imagine myself living in another country and going through that. And so what I have to do is, because the only thing I know how to do is jingle just dance, to help that. And I don't mean to cry, but I haven't been able to be out in community lately because I've been dealing with my own stuff and I've been dealing with medical conditions. So what I do at home is I still wear that jingle dress, I still pray, and I do the work that I do behind the scenes. We don't always need to be out there because our solidarity is there. Indigenous people are here. We're here on that red side, but we're here all over the world. We're supposed to all be helping each other. We're supposed to all be there. We're supposed to be not creating those boundaries and those divisions that was created for us to hate, to be greedy, to not share our knowledge of wealth. We all lost that knowledge of wealth. Well, no, we are all going to take it back, one nation at a time, one community at a time, but we all need to be there together, holding each other and giving each other space for these emotions, feelings, and just creating a space for somebody else to feel what they've been through. We're dumping all these traumas on everybody. We're saying, oh, my trauma's more painful than yours. My trauma, no, screw that. What the white supremacy system is there is to make us fight against that stuff. And we are not to fight against this stuff. We have to stand up. We have to rise up and use our voices together, because that's where the power is going to be, in our voices that system has blocked us off from.
Oh.
That's powerful. And in all honesty, I completely agree with it. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to everyone's experience, and everyone's emotional experience is going to be as strong or as aggressive internally, but it doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't have that same response to something that you don't think it's equal to. So I think we all have to recognize that, like, a lot of people are in pain. Hurt people. And if you never take the time to actually reflect and go through that pain and figure out what those triggers and what those traumas are, then you'll continue to perpetually repeat that cycle.
And healed people heal people.
100%.
Socials?
Social media, I'm on Facebook, Robin Rice. And then Instagram is Waabishkizi Miigwan Kwe 38. So that's WAABISHIKZIIKWE_KWE_38.
Yeah, and we'll write it all in the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for connecting with us today. And that's the Raza BIPOC Access podcast.
Yeah.
Woo!